Day one on the job for the Fifth Doctor, and it's gone a bit sideways. I know exactly how that feels. Welcome to the Time Treadmill. I'm Ron, and these are my sweaty thoughts about Doctor Who. Not unlike the Fifth Doctor, I started my new job yesterday, actually, and let's just say it was marred by some technical difficulties. It's all good. It's all sorted out now, and I'm very happy with where I'm at. But man, starting a new job always comes with a few hiccups. In the case of the Fifth Doctor, it comes with a few bumps and bruises and jangled, unconnected dendrites. Between the trauma of the Fourth Doctor's fall that forced the regeneration, and then the immediate emergency of the TARDIS rushing towards Event 1, the Big Bang, it's a bit of a rough go at the start for the Doctor. But the interesting thing about that is that this was not actually the first story filmed for Peter Davison. It was the fourth one produced. The actual first story he filmed was 4 to Doomsday, the next one I'll get to. And so by the time he got around to filming Castrovalva, he had the advantage of having been working in the role for a couple of months before needing to perform his whole post-regeneration crisis. And that worked very strongly in his favor. He goes through a series of impersonations of his prior incarnations, some subtle and some very blatant, but it's beautifully done, and I love the choices he made with it. And you might think that this was positioned fourth in production order for exactly that reason, but that's not the case. Originally, the first story for this season was supposed to be called Project Zeta Sigma, and it was a completely different story. Unfortunately, that script fell through at the last moment and at the worst possible time. At that point, there was no time left to commission a new story to begin the production on it, so they skipped ahead to the next story and filmed the next 3, while script editor Christopher Bidmead came up with the story for Castrovalva. And so it really was what Bob Ross might refer to as a happy little accident. It was highly stressful at the time, but became very advantageous ultimately in allowing Peter Davison to give the strongest possible performance for his first full appearance as the Doctor. A couple other interesting things in this story. I love the way the costume designers worked with the writers to change Nissa's costume subtly over the course of the second part of this story. You see, originally Nissa was costumed as a one-off character. She was going to be in The Keeper of Traken, and that was it. And her costume had a whole lot of adornments to it. She was wearing the fairy skirt, she had the hair comb crown thing, and a big foofy jacket, and all of that was really impractical for an ongoing character costume. And so, over the course of part 2 of Castrovalva, a series of little accidents causes Nyssa having to change from the fairy skirt to some pants and to lose the jacket, lose the hair comb, and by the end of that episode, she is in the costume that Nyssa will be in basically for the rest of her run on the story. It's a great bit of clever writing that makes the subtly changing costume integral to the story. The same thing with the Doctor's new costume. In previous regenerations, it's been sort of unclear how the Doctor gets from one costume to the next, and there was even a bit of an implication that the regeneration itself comes with a new outfit. With this story, it was shown that is definitely not the fact. Peter Davison starts with Tom Baker's burgundy costume, spends most of part 1 slowly unraveling it, in the case of the scarf quite literally, and then stumbling across a room filled with cricket gear. And so, Peter Davison, feeling totally lost and overwhelmed in Tom Baker's costume, is able to shed that and step forth in his iconic cricketer's outfit that is perfect for the role and completely defines the look and feel of this Doctor. Again, a great bit of writing that makes for a very nice moment in the story. Really, at this point, 2 parts into Castrovalva, there's only one element missing from the Fifth Doctor's costume. Why, he even had the brainy specs come out in part 2. No, there's one little bit missing, and I will definitely make note of it when we get there. In the immortal words of the 10th Doctor, not a lot of men can carry off a decorative vegetable. So the other key important thing about these episodes, first of all, part 1 had a pre-credits sequence. It's the first time in the history of Doctor Who that happened, and it only happens, I think, 3 more times in the classic era. In the modern era, it's pretty much a staple of how the stories execute. But in the classic era, it was really, really unusual to have a sequence before the opening credits rolled. The other thing, speaking of those credits, is that up until now, in the credits, the character of the Doctor has always been listed as Doctor Who, as in the title of the series. When Peter Davison stepped into the role, he specifically asked that the name in the credits be changed to just The Doctor to match the in-universe name of the character. And so from here through the end of the classic era, it is The Doctor in the credits and not Doctor Who. Now, in the modern era, when it came back with Christopher Eccleston as the 9th Doctor, the opening credits went back to listing the character as Doctor Who for just that one season, until David Tennant came on board and again specifically requested that the credits list him as the Doctor. And that has stuck ever since. And all of that started right here with Castrovalva. So that's it for today. Tomorrow I'll wrap up the second half of the story. I will see you then.